What's up, docs and docettes? Trevor Thompson, the self-appointed Looney Tunes critic here. And that is a phrase that I've developed over a series of videos. I think I did it by my third or fourth video. But, well, let's take a look at the first time I ever said it.
It was a dishonest and unfunny portrayal of Michael Jordan. It was a disingenuous and laughless interpretation of the Looney Tunes. And the worst part about it is they're about to do it all again with LeBron. Or if Michael Jordan has his way, it'll be Blake Griffin. But before I break this all down for you, allow me to introduce myself.
Yeah. What's up, docs and docettes? I'm Trevor Thompson, and some of you know me. Most of you don't. Lucky bastards. And I am now, Trevor Thompson, I am now claiming the throne and the title of the Looney Tunes critic.
So in a weird way, we've come full concentric circles. We're here now. It's 2021, and I've come a long way from Space Jam Stinks, as you guys can see. Well, you actually can't see. My set has grown quite significantly over the years, which means, of course, that the little operation, the Looney Tunes critic, Ferris Wheelhouse project, has become quite the operation, and you can see this here on my phone. It's the Looney Tunes critic set that we all know and love. There's a big green screen, and there's the rest of the studio. And so I'm just, it's kind of ceremonial and interesting, but it's also just another day at the old grind. I mean, this is the same exact setup and position for a show that I started a couple weeks ago called Riding the Shield. So I don't know how much effort is going to be put into this, because it's really just a first thought reaction. At the present moment, I am not even sure if this new movie, Space Jam: A New Legacy, I'm not even sure if it warrants a full-fledged review, and for many reasons. Pez literally just DM'd me on Facebook. So what did you think? Well, you're about to find out, aren't you, Pez? You and everybody else. By the way, for those who don't know, Pez is my collaborator on a show we do here on the channel called Tex Avery Tuesdays, a show which is currently in hiatus, but many people consider Tex Avery to be the father of Bugs Bunny, and so we talk about the cartoons that Tex did at Warner Brothers. But I got to tell you, a lot has changed in my personal life from when I originally reviewed Space Jam, and I have to tell you that whatever I say right now, I have to acknowledge it. I'm in a completely different place than I was, not just physically, but 2016. In 2016. I didn't have to worry about hurting anybody's feelings that I know personally. You know, I mean, I sort of knew Bob Bergen, but not really. I was remaining in touch with Eric, but Eric wasn't involved. Eric Bauza, but Eric wasn't involved in the original Space Jam, and he wasn't doing, when I did the original, he'd only done, I think, Marvin once or twice. I don't think he'd been doing any major Looney Tunes. And the list goes on of people. And now I really do, that getting that message from Pez just now really brought into sharp focus for me the reality that, when I critiqued the last one, I didn't, I could be completely honest about it. Plus I was talking about a very important thing, Chuck Jones getting escorted off of the Warner's lot. Which was something that had to come out. And I don't, for the record, I don't think that anything remotely that egregious happened during the making of this movie. But at the same time, anything I said about the movie that was bad, and the result of, people's conscious efforts in the first one, I didn't know any of those people, I mean, I only had one interaction with Michael Jordan, and it was because I almost killed him. I almost ran him over. Actually, I didn't. I wasn't driving. But if you want to know that story, click up there. but it's a different thing now, man. It's I know a lot of people that worked on this. I know a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You know, I won't say who, but someone who had a very long chat with me on the phone for about 3 hours, and we talked mostly about things that were happening during this movie. So there is a lot more for me to consider before I open my big fat mouth, about my thoughts on this movie. That being said, the movie sucks. I'm just kidding. I did make some predictions about what this movie would be a few years ago in the old studio. And one thing that I did correctly predict, just to pat myself needlessly on the back, is the fact that having LeBron James be the basketball player, I predicted that LeBron would be better, way better than Michael Jordan. Although, to be fair, almost anything would have been better than Michael Jordan. He was so wooden, and it was just bad. I mean, and I was right about that. LeBron is at his very worst competent scene per scene. You know what I mean? The worst he ever gets is just competent. And Michael Jordan never reached competency in his performance in the original Space Jam. So well done there. And well done me for predicting that. Because if you had seen Trainwreck, which by all accounts it kind of was, I'm kidding. But I said it before, I'll say it again, he upstaged comedians, both, even Colin. I don't know if he had any scenes with Colin Quinn, but there were a lot of comedians in Trainwreck, and he upstaged them comedically, and also in those scenes where he's being like really real with Bill Hader and like completely invested in his relationship with Amy and all this other stuff. So I bought his authenticity, which you have to fucking have if you're going to be in against a green screen for the majority of the movie. So, I mean, if that was a lesson learned from the previous movie that Malcolm Lee, the director, Malcolm D. Lee, learned and applied and improved upon consciously, then major kudos, because it was achieved. I will also say something about the movie's animation, 2D animation. I won't comment on the CGI animation. I think me saying that the CGI animation is ugly is redundant, because in the movie, you can take it one way or the other. The characters do not like being put in that CGI, overly shaded, I might add, overly shaded CGI three-dimensional. They look like really clean plush toys, which is also discomforting. But the characters themselves are not happy when they get to that CGI, and I think you can argue that it's just the characters not liking being in their traditional state, but it also could be traditional anime. It could be a statement about traditional animation not working in a 3D environment or whatever. That's certainly how I took it. So for them to not be done super well in a CG kind of environment, the fact that the characters disapprove of it, I give it a pass. In fact, it needs to be said that there are in fact, it does need to be said that there are zero performances in this movie that are bad, both on camera and off. There's all the voice performances are good, and great, really. This is not a backhanded compliment. I mean this. This might be Jeff Bergman's best performance as Bugs Bunny. It's sad that it's such a mediocre movie, but Space Jam, in my view, was never mediocre. It's dirge. It's shit. And deliberate shit. So, it's a better movie. This new one is a better movie. So I need to say that. Let me just start off by saying that. Maybe that's the headline. I don't dislike this movie. To me, it's not a Looney Tunes movie, but then again, neither was the original Space Jam. And I don't know if this is necessarily the place to go into a diatribe that I've gone into before about marquee characters. Specifically, I went into it on Anthony's channel, although that's deleted now. I think it's coming back, though, Anthony's Animation Talk. But I don't believe that marquee characters, which the Looney Tunes are, which are characters that can never age and can never die, they can't really have long form movies where they are the main characters. And it's true. I mean, there's characters like, if you want to keep it old school, look at the Three Stooges movies that they did after, Curly died, Curly and Shemp, and they were doing these feature films where you saw the Three Stooges, they were a part of things, but it was always, there was like some handsome guy and some girl, and they had the real stakes, and they needed Larry and Curly and whoever was, or Larry and Moe and whoever was the Curly then, probably Joe DeRita, I don't remember. But they needed the Three Stooges' help, but the Three Stooges didn't change in the movie. Nothing, and especially cartoon characters in a live action cartoon hybrid, they really can't have stakes, real genuine stakes, which is at least addressed in a slightly more comedic tone with this movie. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, and I'm not comparing this to Monty Python and the Holy Grail in terms of quality. Absolutely not. That is a near perfect movie, near perfect comedy, what I should say. But that there's an ending. There's an ending, an abrupt ending to, spoilers, an abrupt ending to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where this running gag about these modern day police officers who are trying to find whoever killed a famous historian who did a narration piece earlier, and they end up arresting King Arthur and all these people who are about to go to war, and it's a modern day police, just showing up in the end, and then it turns into a documentary crew. All of a sudden, the guy puts the hand over the camera, and it just cuts to black, and that's the end of the movie. And the thing is, that's a joke. It's a joke about, haha, you shouldn't end a movie like this weird meta funny thing. And it is funny, but at the same time, it's an ineffective method still. Now, the joke is we're using this ineffective method, but it is still an ineffective method. So you're still sitting there left with that empty feeling of, oh, that's a rather rubbish ending, isn't it? And the Pythons have long since debated whether that was right or wrong. Eric Idle, his daughter, hates him for that end. She's like, that is the worst ending to a movie ever, and my dad fucking wrote it. So again, the way that they address the fact that there's no stakes and the characters can't die and all this other stuff, and they do joke about it, but at the end of the day, it's still fake pathos. It's still like, there's scenes where we're supposed to get choked up about, like Bugs getting, I don't want to spoil the ending, but it looks like, spoilers, it looks like Bugs dies. And then, of course, last scene, he's like, yeah, of course. I mean, they're trying to do a bigger version of What's Opera Doc, where Bugs dies at the ending, but then, of course, there's well, what'd you expect in an opera? A happy ending? But that's a more fitting thing, because the music's up and it's still the big emotional fitting ending, and that's just a little joke that kind of takes you along with it. Whereas the ending here is a long conversation about, oh no, everything's fine, we did everything. Not a long conversation, but a conversation nonetheless. And so that is, now we're getting into what is truly this movie's flaw, and why I say it is a good movie. Maybe not a good movie. It's a well-made film It is a well-made movie, but this is why I say it's not a Looney Tunes movie, much like how the original Space Jam is not a Looney Tunes movie. And I said it in the original Space Jam review, Space Jam Stinks, and I don't have the Daffy Duck level ego I would need to believe this. But if I were a conspiracy theorist like I used to be in my younger days, I would love to believe that the makers of this movie saw my original Space Jam Stinks review and heard me say what I'm about to say and said, "Oh, really? Well, let's do the opposite of exactly that multiple times." There you go, fat critic. There you go, Big Chungus. See, I got the gray hair and I got the weight, so I may as well be Big Chungus, who, by the way, is in this movie.
I'm hunting rabbits.
Now, rather than go and dig up my old review and play the exact part where I say this and have to frustratingly deal with the copyright demons again, where blah, blah, blah. By the way, the channel's demonetized, so if you can help me out, man, at all, go to the Patreon. That's the only way I'm making any money on this anymore. Anyway, what I said in that review that I feel really needs to be said more often, and is essentially what makes this not a Looney Tunes movie, is the Looney Tunes are not family. They're not. They don't love each other. Stop it. These are separate characters that exist in their own worlds, and also they're losers, okay? Bugs, Speedy, Tweety, I think that's about it, are the only characters in that whole lot that are, comic heroes, that things go right for them. But there aren't a lot of comic heroes, as Chuck Jones once so wisely said, because heroes aren't funny. So to be heroic and to be family and to do it for your... Bugs is a hero. He helps that little penguin, and for the right reasons, at least at first. But these characters are not the Muppets. They're not the Star Wars people. It's not about family. And they're very... Not only are they very self-involved characters, which is why we identify with them, because people ultimately are very self-involved and self-interested. And if you don't believe me, go on social media. You probably already are. So, people, the Looney Tunes are self-important, and they're also literally in their own little worlds. They have to put this thing together, whether it's in the first movie where they're in the center of the earth, Looney Tune Land, or it's a planet within the Warner Brothers serververse. But they have to take all of these different versions of our world, because they've been in the cartoons. Paris, France for Pepe Le Pew, Planet X for Daffy Duck, and the desert for the Coyote and the Roadrunner, etc. The forest for the Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd Hunter pictures. They're all hastily put together in this one quick little area, and that shows you right there, and that's a physical representation of what they're doing. They're taking things that are not put together, and they're bastardizing it and glomming it together, and they're sprinkling this, this family thing, which is not present in the original cartoons at all, and is probably the greatest disservice to the original characters. Which is more of a shame in a way than the original movie, because the original movie, as I and many people have well documented, did not give a fuck about the original cartoons. And if you don't know about it, I did spill the beans on the fact that the studio did force Chuck Jones to go, onto a press conference on the Warner's lot, on the Warner Brothers animation lot, where they made some of the greatest cartoons ever, and vouch for the movie and say it was this great thing. And he said how he really felt, which is that, you've done a disservice, etc., etc. And they threw him off the lot. And all these press, media conglomerates were there. These outlets, these media outlets were there. Warner's had to pay through the nose just to cover up the fact that they openly, in front of all these people, shit on the original. I mean, they shit on Chuck Jones public. I mean, they didn't shit on him. He's not. This isn't the Tom and Jerry movie with Spike, but they, it's almost worse that this disservice to the Looney Tunes by making them suddenly family and suddenly give a fuck about each other. It's almost more egregious by virtue of the fact that so much else of this movie, so many other things are done better than the original and with more love. I mean, there's a lot more people involved with this. I'm sure even the director, who legitimately love these cartoons and know that, to tread lightly and to treat them with respect. And one way that they're not doing that is one of the biggest things. It's not, the animation is this or that, or the color scheme is this or that, or there's too much CG, or this person is wooden, or there's too much this or too much that. None of that matters ultimately if the movie itself isn't based on something that feels real and authentic. And it really has to be a magic trick of the filmmakers to get around the fact that the Looney Tunes are self-involved, and you have to make it a good enough reason for them to care, and for each other to stick their necks out for each other, And this movie needed to figure out a better premise for that, because these characters legitimately don't care for each other. That's it. So what do you think? You tell me in the comments, and let me know if you want an actual review of this thing. I really don't feel there is a need for one. I don't know that there's necessarily an angle for one. I may or may not be doing some interviews with people involved in it, because I don't want to tempt fate, but there is the possibility of that. I just, at the end of the day, man, it's a premise built on an idea that doesn't work and doesn't honor the characters, what they are. I mean, if we're doing something where we're changing what the characters are, fine. These characters thrive when you change them and try new things, and then after some time you can see if the thing worked or if it didn't work, and if it's about going back to your roots or if it's about trying something new in a different direction. All that's fine. I'm just saying the tone of this is to be more of a tribute to the original cartoons rather than trying some new stuff out. I mean, even Lola is a throwback at this point. So it's like, why, if what you're actually trying to do is bring the characters that we grew up with from those cartoons into this movie and make it not realistic but believable, then this whole family thing's got to go. They don't give a fuck about each other. So again, that's my 2 cents, and let me know in the comments what you think, and be sure to watch Riding the Shield, especially today when this is going up, because I have a very special Space Jam exclusive Riding the Shield. So check that out. And also, if you like Looney Tunes and you're into the classic stuff and you want to see some of my commentaries, you want to watch some really in-depth reviews about this kind of thing, about like the really intricate how stuff was made, interviews with people that worked on it, subscribe, man. We do this kind of thing all through the channel. So like, thumbs up, subscribe, do all that stuff, and thanks for watching.